Hey guys, if this is the first time you've ever been to my channel, my name is Caleb, and today I'm going to discuss my 10 favorite movies of 2016, and considering all the awful, horrible things surrounding this year, the movies were actually pleasantly really good. So let's just jump right into it with my number 10 pick, which is Sing Street, which is a very underloved movie, very highly critically acclaimed, but just not a lot of people saw it. I hope now that it's on Netflix, people can see it. It's about a boy who starts a band in Dublin. It's just basically about a boy following his dreams while also trying to get the girl. So it's every teenager's dream, wanting to become a musician just so that they can get the girl. But surprisingly, there's a lot of depth within a few of the characters in the movie. It looks gorgeous, and the songs are just really excellent. You'll want to download the soundtrack the second this movie's over. And aside from a little bit of a fantastical ending that I'm not crazy about, I find this to be a flawless coming-of-age movie. At number 9, I've got 10 Cloverfield Lane, and the anticipation for this movie was real, and I only had like a month to get really anticipated for it because they just dropped the trailer on us out of nowhere 2 months before release date. And it really doesn't have much to do with the first Cloverfield movie, but it doesn't matter. I can watch a movie with the name Cloverfield in it every year because it's almost like Twilight Zone, Black Mirror. And if they keep doing stories like this, which is a textbook, borderline perfect thriller, I'm on board. John Goodman gives an award-worthy performance with Mary Elizabeth Winstead just killing it, being very resourceful. She's not the dumb girl that a lot of horror movies like to throw in that cliche. She's very smart. The movie is very scary. It's very thrilling, and I just want to investigate this world even further because this movie was just that good. Number 8, I have The Nice Guys, which is a movie that I have liked more on every watch, and I've watched it 3 times. The first time I had some problems with the third act. Second time, got better. Third time, I really didn't find any problems with this movie. The chemistry between Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling is ridiculously good. It gets to a point where you actually kind of don't even care about plot. You just want to watch them interact together because it's that good. And I could watch 5 more movies with this. It's a shame that this movie didn't get the money that it deserved to get, considering that the budget was actually pretty big. It just shows that making big budget original movies in today's world doesn't really work. But hopefully this movie gathers a little bit of a cult following and we can see more from this duo that's just comedic and very fun with some heartfelt moments as well. At number 7, I have another criminally underwatched movie called The Edge of 17, and it's the big time coming of age movie that we get every year. Last year it was Dope. A few years ago it was Perks of Being a Wallflower, then we had Adventureland in 2009. This movie is actually a little bit more realistic than all those movies. It actually shows teenagers acting like teenagers, and it actually gives us a main character that we necessarily wouldn't want to hang out with in real life. She's a little bit unpleasant, but she has her problems. We got to remember that she's 17 and she's not fully developed yet. She has a tough background with stuff with her family, and it's just refreshing to see a movie where it's not forcing us to like a character. We watched the movie, we had problems with her, but we still sympathize with things that she's going through. And Woody Harrelson and her chemistry is just fantastic with this teacher-student relationship, which in most cases he'd probably get fired for some of the stuff that he says to her. But this movie is just really good. It's sweet. It's surprisingly really funny, and it has some really hard emotional moments in it. So The Edge of 17, when this comes out on DVD, redbox this and watch it, please. At number 6, I have the highly intense horror movie known as Don't Breathe, which is Fede Alvarez's second directorial effort behind Evil Dead. And this movie is actually quite a bit better than Evil Dead. I feel like he has more range with this when it comes to vision and storytelling. This movie is just balls to the wall intense. It wastes no time. Like, it's a very quick movie and it always has you guessing. And what I love most about Don't Breathe is that every 10 minutes or so, I'm changing my position on who I'm with. It's like, am I with the kids breaking into this house, or am I with the blind man whose house is getting broken into? I just think that shows how well written this horror movie is, which is not very common. And another thing that I love about it is that it's a really amazing horror movie that has no supernatural element, which is so refreshing. This and Green Room, which Green Room was an honorable mention for me. They're probably the 2 best horror movies of the year, and neither have supernatural elements to them, which I love very much. But this movie just kept me guessing. It has a really good twist that I was like, whenever it happened, I was like, oh my god, seriously? This movie just went so dark. It's not like the movie wasn't dark to begin with, but that twist definitely took it to a whole nother level. So yeah, if you had doubts about this movie, don't, because it's arguably about the best home invasion movie ever made. Now we're getting into my top 5 with a little indie gem called Don't Think Twice. And this movie revolves around these improv actors who are struggling to make it, in comedy so that they can, like, have a living in it. It's basically about a spin-off or whatever of Saturday Night Live, and one of the main improv characters, played by Keegan-Michael Key, gets that job for Saturday Night Live. I forgot what the thing's called, but yeah. So it's basically just about friends being envious of people becoming successful, which I found very refreshing, because it's not every time when one of your friends becomes successful that you're just, sure, you're grateful for them and the stuff that they're doing, but you're going to feel a little bit of jealousy deep down. And that's what I loved about this movie. Yeah, it's funny, yeah, it's a Mike Birbiglia movie, but I think it has a lot of depth to it character-wise, and all the characters are just fantastic, and it has some real emotion in it, while also being very funny, because it is about funny people doing improv. So yeah, don't think twice. This is a movie that people need to see, definitely. At number 4, I have the highly thought-provoking movie entitled Arrival, which is a movie by Denis Villeneuve. I guess that's how you say his name. He did Sicario and Prisoners and Enemy, and this is his biggest movie yet. This movie actually made money, which is amazing for sci-fi, because this movie, cuts no corners. It doesn't spoon-feed you the things that it's trying to say. Yeah, it's about aliens that land on Earth, but it's totally not about that at all. It's about Amy Adams' character and being a mother, and it's a character study of her and people communicating. And I find that when a big reveal happens in Arrival, it makes you think and think and think. And it's a good conversation movie to have with your friends, to be like, what would you do in this scenario? Sort of like Sicario, but this movie's nowhere near as cynical as that. This movie is lovely. It's beautiful. It's sad. It looks gorgeous. It's just so good. And Amy Adams probably deserves an Oscar for this performance, because she just broke my heart so many times. At number 3, we have the sort of modern-day Western entitled Hell or High Water, which I didn't know what to expect with this movie, because I thought maybe it would just be grim and sort of a downer of a movie. I'm not saying it's not that, but it's also, like, kind of hilarious. The dialogue within these characters is natural and funny, considering that the situations they're going through, which is robbing banks. But there's reasons why they're doing it. Some reasons are better than others, but the emotion's always there. The characters always feel real. All the performances are just definitely award-worthy. Hell or High Water. This movie reminds me a lot of No Country for Old Men, but probably, like, funnier than No Country for Old Men, but just not as, like, dark and violent and thrilling as No Country for Old Men. It's not exactly that. It's just the way the movie flows sort of reminds me of No Country for Old Men. But this movie is fantastic. I need to watch it again. I think if I watched it, I think this could be a movie that could be one of my favorite movies of all time. It's, 15 years down the road, because I found it that easy to get through. It just goes by so quickly, and the third act just creeps up on you, and you're like, oh my god, this is very thrilling, and I'm very scared for what's happening. So yeah, Hell or High Water needs to be watched. At number 2, I have a movie that was my number 1 movie for so long this year, until it got bumped down, and that is Kubo and the Two Strings, which is, without a doubt, the best looking animated movie I've ever seen. And it's all stop motion animation practically, and it is just so beautiful. It's a kids movie, but it cuts no corners. It talks about death. It uses the word death. It uses the word dying. And I just found the movie to be so beautiful. Like, I don't want to go much into plot, because honestly the plot isn't that important. Yeah, it plays into stuff, but it's mostly just fun and emotional to watch this main character, who has all these mystical powers, basically communicate with this monkey and this beetle man, played by Matthew McConaughey and Charlize Theron. The movie resolves itself really beautifully. This is probably the movie that I cried most during the whole entire year. Yeah, it's very emotional. God. And my number 1 movie of 2016 is the movie that I watched last week, and I have not stopped thinking about ever since, and that is Nocturnal Animals. criminally underrated. This has like a 71 on Rotten Tomatoes. This movie it's perfect. Like, it totally is. I've never seen anything like this. If you don't know what the movie's about, I'll try and lay it out a little bit for you. It's basically a movie within a movie within a movie. Amy Adams' character receives a book from her ex-husband, and the book is called Nocturnal Animals. So while this stuff is going on in real life, it starts playing, her reading the book. It starts playing that movie, and that movie is terrifying and thrilling. There's honestly times where you forget that story is basically just her reading the book. It's not real. God, it's so good, though. It's one of those movies where the characters aren't developed early on, but as the movie goes on, you learn more about the characters. You learn more about Amy Adams and her ex-husband. It shows flashbacks. It shows modern day times. It shows the story that she's reading. And it blends so well. Like, it never feels like a mess. And the way that it ends is just melancholy to a T. I don't want to ruin anything, obviously, but this is a movie that must be watched. I hope that come Academy Awards, this movie gets recognized for the things that it did, especially directorial-wise. Blew me away. Gosh, it blew me away so much. So that is my top 10. Let me know what your 10 favorite movies were in the comment section below, or if you agree with any of mine. Thank you for watching.